if this world is better than the actual world, and it seems it is, then God would have chosen this world. However, God didn't choose that world. So it must be the case that that world doesn't actually exist.
Well, either that or like the omni properties are like misattributed or something. Yeah, I get that.
But the omni properties are going to be understood in terms of possibilities here. So if there isn't actually a world in which you want to say that everybody acts, morally righteously, in accordance with their will, then it's not the case that God is not omnipotent for not selecting that world or something.
Yeah, but like then why wouldn't people who believe in that God just be? Why wouldn't they just be committed to the view that there are no evils and like, you're just incorrect because under
They
God.
are committed to the view that there's no pro toto evils. They aren't committed to the view that there's no pro tanto evil.
I know, but I mean, Courtney, J. Rob, do you guys think that there are things that occur that that aren't necessary?
I'm sorry for the last few minutes. I'm picking up my kid. I'm about to have two more get in the car, and they're the younger ones. It's going to be loud. So can you repeat that really quick in the next 10 seconds?
Yeah. Do you think that there are evils that are not necessary?
Evils that are not necessary. Yeah, I mean, theoretically, I think that.
Right.
I don't,
I think
but
that
I can't.
intuition would be shared amongst most believers.
Yeah,
Well,
but I don't know.
I don't think so. Evils that, like, you have to be more clear. Like, in a sense, you can say the evils are not necessary, but you have to say the evils are necessary for creating the best possible world overall. Uh, but in a sense,
Also, I think you have to have evil in order to get a perspective of what is good.
Look, why is it impossible? Like just like Jambar said, for the sake of like pointing out a contradiction, let's say God made a world where free, true love and very, very astute bravery existed without cowardice or without hate. What's the problem there?
But that's exactly the problem. The problem is that true love can only come with free will.
I'm telling you that there's no free will and there is true love. What's the contradiction there?
I don't think that there. Hold on, wait. What's the contradict? Okay, hold on. The free will. Oh, my kids are.
Because you can't force someone to choose to love someone.
That's just to say the claim again, right?
No, that's from our experience, even as a human.
Yeah, and our experience as a human in the world that God created where we need free will to love. I'm saying God created a world where people freely choose to love and they could never hate. What's the contradiction there? Why is that love less true?
Okay. I think the issue is how does one not hate without experience? Like, it's like saying, can you have darkness without light? Can you have light without darkness? Hate without love? Can you have, like, I don't know that you can have an experience like that without something that is its total opposite.
Look, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, let's say deprivation theory is like false or whatever. Like, let's just say that God, there's no such thing as bravery, but also nobody ever has to like stand in front of a gun for somebody else, right? God creates that world where there's no bravery, but nobody ever has to jump on an exploding thing for a bunch of people that they care about. What's the problem with that world?
Well, I mean, that's just those examples. I think we can concede that those examples could be so, but that doesn't necessitate all examples of, quote, hate or all examples of the negative decision that one should maybe not have chosen, that by default affected a vast amount of people that they were unbeknownst to them, they had no clue. Like, again, we buy cell phones, we're using cell phones, but these cell phones were made by tiny hands in another country. And so while that could be an example of like things that could be prevented, I'm just saying there are repercussions, ripple effects that happens that we don't even know. Sometimes we feel we're making a good decision and we actually negatively impact a person.
Yeah, but
I don't know how to answer that.
Maybe I'll just try one more time because I feel like there's a bunch of like competing.
Wait, right here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me try. Because one thing you said, I forgot exactly what you said, but if God is perfect love, and He wants perfect love to be expressed between God and humanity, then more love is expressed when one is able to forgive, right? And in order to forgive, that means somebody would have to transgress God's law.
Okay. So then I guess world A, a bunch of people freely love each other. Like they never hurt each other, betray each other. World B, infinitely many people one day betray each other. The next day they forgive each other and love. The next day they betray each other. The next day forgive and love. Which world would God create?
I
Good
mean,
one.
yeah, whichever one brings the most good,
I'm
right?
saying, under your understanding of God, which one do you think he'd be inclined to create if his goal was to make a good world?
That's what I'm saying. The one that brings the most good, and yeah, if
I'm saying, which
forgiveness.
world is that? Is it World 2 or World 1?
I mean, the world one. I mean, so here's the thing. From what I'm understanding, because I'm not sure if I understand you clearly, is that the second world? Are you saying like that one is like freely choosing to do good, etc.?
Yeah, and then the next day you betray them, and then the next day you forgive them and make up, and the next day they betray you, and then you make up, and then you betray them, and then you make up. Yeah, like that forever.
I mean,
It kind of the world that we live in. Like you harm your, I don't
Okay,
know,
so
brother, sister, or whatever, and then
then
you
just
see
answer.
or
If it's
he.
so easy to answer, then just answer. Would he make the world where everyone freely loves forever, or the one with
I
like
mean, I
infinite
mean,
cycles of betrayal and then regaining trust?
I mean, it's confusing because it's just like we're living in this world, and we
I'm not
obviously
asking you about that though.
no. I'm just saying we have a world view, and obviously that world view entails that at some point our love will be perfected in a way that we will not be able to do any evils. Evil gets punished and destroyed forever. And what you're referring to, you said where one goes against God and then comes back, then goes against God and comes back forever. It just was seem contradictory
No,
to.
I'm not saying that the people in that world live forever. I'm just saying always, like, yeah, like just engage with what the substantive point of my dispute. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not
I
I'm not
guess
saying there's a
that's
guy
what.
who's 2,000 years old who's like, do I forgive God or do I accept him today? I'm just saying that there are always people who are always turning their back on each other and God, and then always retribution, and then always destruction, and
I
always
mean, well
retribution.
then, yeah, that's similar to this world. So I would say, yeah, that world would probably be the one.
That's just, I
But
mean.
if you're saying that the world number two that you described is we he, he will create us to choose the right thing, and sometimes we will choose the wrong thing, but we will forgive it the next day, right?
Something like that.
Okay, but then you're taking the free will
Nope.
from us.
It's just going to be
No,
Yes.
no, no. So in
stipulated.
all worlds, he's saying that there's free will, but basically what he's saying
Got
is
you, Justin.
like if God has foreknowledge, right? He knows what's going to happen in each of these worlds. He's saying that God knows that in this world they'll have free will, but they'll always choose me. So let me create that world versus this world in which they have free will, but they don't always choose me and they do things that are evil.
Yeah, I'm taking
He's,
free will completely out of it. You said that love could only happen if betrayal could happen. I'm saying, okay, let's just plot the distribution equally amongst love and betrayal. Put that in world B, infinitely many beings of those kind. And then in world A, let's just have infinitely many beings that always freely choose to love and do the good. Which world would like an all good, all knowing,
Yeah,
all
but
powerful God create?
you're continuing to saying it, but once you're saying let's create a world that everybody loves each other, then you're taking the free will to hate.
Then show me the contradiction. I'm getting tired
no,
of
no,
this. I'm
no.
getting really tired of this.
I get what he's saying. I get what he's saying. He's just saying like, or you could do it like this, Zion. The last time you sinned, did you have the ability to not sin?
Yes,
Right, and then every time you've sinned, did you have the ability to not sin?
probably.
Probably. So are you saying that there was a sin that in no way, shape, form, or fashion it wasn't a choice of yours? You absolutely had to sin.
No, I'm saying that I chose to sin. Sometimes I did mistakes, of course, but
I, I'm, I, I'm
I
asking
always
you.
had the choice.
I'm saying if every sin that you committed, did you have the ability to not sin? Or
Wait, let me think of it for a second. If every time I sinned, if I had the ability not to sin, yes.
yeah, you could have chosen to
Yeah.
not sin. right? So what he's saying is, right, what if God created a world where you always had the choice, but instead of choosing to sin, you actually chose to not sin. You
Yeah,
still
but
have
that's
free.
that. Yeah, I understand, but that's kindly eliminate the actual free choice.
Okay, then it
I
should be
understand
easy
what you're
for you
saying,
to
but it
derive the
kindly eliminated
contradiction.
the free choice.
So wait, real quick, one more. Right? Did Adam and Eve have to eat the fruit? Right? Could they have not ate the fruit?
I would say yes.
They had to eat the
No,
fruit.
sorry, so I would say no, no.
Okay, okay, so he's asking, okay, why couldn't God just create a version of Adam and Eve that didn't eat the fruit?
Because there's no testing. There has to be testing.
They were tested, and if you are
No,
agreeing that they could have not ate the fruit, then you're agreeing that passing the test was possible. You're
right,
committed to
right.
it. You're
He's saying,
committed
why
to
couldn't
saying
he
that.
just instead of create Adam and Eve, create
You're basically just saying, why didn't God create the world already in the perfect status? And by
I'm
doing
not
so, he
saying
then,
that. I'm not saying that.
no,
dude,
no.
I
What
don't.
he's saying is like instead of creating Adam and Eve, create a better person. Create John and Shannon. You
No,
know what I'm saying?
create Adam and Eve, right? But like, if is it possible that they could have not chosen to eat the fruit?
I mean, okay, I'm trying
I
to
think
understand what you're
I'm trying
saying.
to give an example. It's like if I ask you what do you prefer? Have 100 smart robots or one wife that will love you fully?
What was the
How
first
about this? How
option?
about this? How about this? Let's
Or
say
husband for Courtney.
let's say if I gave you the choice between uh, orange, a orange and an apple, right? But then I like changed your taste buds to make it to where you always like apples, right?
Look,
You
You
have the
wouldn't
free you
choose
have
the orange. You would
look,
you
choose the
have the
apple.
you
look.
have the
Did
freedom to
Adam and Eve
choose.
freely choose? Did they deliberate on their actions and then choose an action according to which one they had most reason to do?
According to when that, maybe you could say that. Maybe when you say deliberate, I mean, it seems as though she deliberated a bit. She was like,
Okay. Yeah. So what do you think she was doing on deliberation? Weighing whether to eat the fruit or not?
yeah, whether or not whether to eat it, but whether eating it was actually breaking the command, because she says, well, wait a minute, he says not even to touch it, which God never told her don't touch it, but the implication is if you eat it you have to touch it to eat. But so it's it's a different concept. It's hard for me to give an example without
Okay.
bringing
Well,
it
I mean,
into.
maybe I can like put it in this way. Like, do you think do you think God can fail?
No. Are you saying does he always actualize?
No, I'm just saying like, did God was God's goal for Adam and Eve to freely choose the good?
To freely choose the good, yes, which is why I think there had to be some sort of temptation,
Okay, so
aka
did that goal obtain?
did God actualize that, or did they obtain that goal?
Yeah, did the goal he had in mind end up happening?
I think he already knew it would happen. So I don't believe that God didn't
Okay,
know that.
so God, when he was choosing to create, creation was perfect, right? Like before
Until
creation, the world was perfect
yeah.
because it was God and
So
God alone.
it says it was good. Oh yeah, before God. Okay, I mean before creation. Yeah.
Yeah. So before creation, God existed and God existed alone. So creation was perfect, right? Or existence was perfect. That's what I should say.
Yeah, sure. I guess.
Okay, and God being all powerful and all good and all knowing, you have to be committed to saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, that God freely chose to create. He wasn't obligated.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know that. There's some precepts there I wouldn't agree with. So like, God is quote all good. If by all good you mean that there's never any bad that comes from, I don't agree. But if
No,
by
I'm
all good
saying
you
that
mean
all good means that like whatever God does and like what ought be done
like when
is
he's giving
done.
over justice, that's still good, even though the person that's receiving the justice, the death penalty or something may not necessarily agree. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying like acts to oppose evil if they can, right?
No, not necessarily. I wouldn't agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so
I
well,
would
we
say,
would agree that if perfection, right, exists where God is in the state of aloneness, and God has in him these abilities that to our misaligned moral compass we deem
You
are malicious, right? But by God's lights, they're not malicious, right?
you
Because like
can
you're
you can
saying,
just you can just ask why even God created the world. Why not
Well, no, but
just
I'm
stay
saying
alone?
I'm trying to say more than that. I'm saying that God bringing the world into existence. You agree that he couldn't have detracted from the amount of perfection that was in the world, right? If God existed alone and creation and existence was perfect, God wouldn't create a world that lessened that perfection.
No, I don't know because it doesn't, the text doesn't necessarily tell us that. It just says it was good. When you say perfect, I don't know what
Yeah,
that means.
you're appealing to a standard that is not standardized,
Yeah,
basically.
I don't agree with that, right? I believe that God.
Because you don't even have other worlds to compare, which is better. You're just assuming and
Well, I
imagining.
mean, one of the other worlds that he compared was like that people, like J Rob was saying, like people that, when they do choose, they say sorry. And then J Rob was like, well, that's just this world. I mean, Zion, you said the same thing. It was just
No,
this world.
that's just
Look,
imagining. But we
do you
can't
think
if
that
we
if there
can't
was a
really compare
world when God said this
worlds.
world is good, He made it. He said it was good. If you
Hmm.
think that there was a choice between the good world and the world that's a bit better than good, do you think that God has any obligations between those two worlds?
I don't know.
Obligations, I don't think that he does in light of the reason why it may, when you say it a bit better, it could be a bit better from like the first 2,000 years, but then
I'm
maybe,
saying in God's lights, pro toto.
I mean, is he obligated? No, I don't think he's obligated.
Okay, so
No.
so so in your
What is
view,
potato?
God could have created the worst of all possible worlds and have been an all knowing, all loving, all good God.
I don't say all loving.
I
That's what
mean,
I'm saying.
yeah, he could have been an all have all the great making properties like justice. Yeah, he would have been an all knowing, all powerful, all great making property having God and create the worst of all possible worlds. You're saying that?
Well, no, I'm not saying the worst. So now we go from like God's creating a good world or maybe a slightly better world, but now you just want to say he's creating the worst
No,
world.
I'm
And
saying,
so,
look. I'm not trying to trap you. You can walk any of this back. I'm just saying, like, if he has no obligation to make the world, kind of better or kind of worse, what explains why he created this world rather than a nearly perfect one, or rather than a world in which all humans had a life that was barely worth living at all?
yeah,
But
so I think the what explains that is the free choice, but also
The free choice
free
of
choice
what?
with the free choice to choose freely, left or right, up or down,
No, no. I'm saying
good or the
I'm
bad.
talking about only God. Only God. Creation hasn't happened yet.
Okay, but
So,
he knows this is going to happen. He's going to create these things
look.
that he know. Okay.
No, I really am sorry, but like this is mischaracterizing what I'm trying to say, and maybe I'm not being clear, and that's my fault. Um, God is choosing which world, right? And like, let's say that there's a range of 100 worlds, but we can God we're imagining is like infinitely creative, right? He can whatever he desires will actualize. He knows the end and the beginning, like all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like if it's the case that God was, I don't know how he does it, but if he was going through the decision making process, I know that process is temporal, but let's say it's even atemporal processing, and he's deliberating on like let's say a series of 100 worlds, and one is like, punching babies, but every thousandth day you like accept God or something, and then in the last world it's like accepting God almost always, right? But steering off the course a little bit. I'm asking under your worldview, does God have any inkling, any intuition, any like feeling, any? Would you expect the God that you worship to choose one of those worlds rather than another?
Um, if in the first world people seem better but come to not keep in accordance with his will, but they seem better, right? So maybe they're doing like a lot of good things for people, but they don't actually believe in their creator, but the world is actually good, right? Then I think no.
Okay.
Because again, God is sitting there alone with nothing. Why? He doesn't have to create. He does so in order that these creatures would freely choose him, but also be a image bearers of him.
Okay,
So
okay. So then I guess my like reductio would be this: like, okay, let's imagine a world where, let's just say utopia is possible, and whatever quibbling and squabbling you think is necessary to like get out, like we're organisms bumping into each other, so every now and then there's going to be a fist fight in the cafeteria. Let's say those things happen, but they happen to the minimal degree necessary. But for some reason, people forgot to write down that God exists and Jesus, sacrificed himself, and so people just like the memory of God fades from existence, right? But utopia is achieved, and let's say that God's looking at that world, And then God's looking at another world. This is before creation, by the way. And God's looking at world B, and people are very good note takers, but they go home and they know that after their day of doing all the hedonistic things they can, they have to sincerely repent, and they need to honestly every night the reckoning comes, and they pray to be forgiven, or and whatever amounts of evil that can be obtained without just stating that the world overall is not worth creating, that world is achieved, right? You're saying God would create the world where people sin as much as they can, but know that God exists, rather than the world where utopia is achieved, but people forgot to write down God's name. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not. It sounded like that until you baked in the fact that these people go home with the reckoning every night and say, "Oh, I'm doing teshuva. I mean, I'm doing repentance." That's not repentance. I'm keep trying to mix the Hebrew and the English. I'm sorry. True repentance is that one realizes and turns away from that. And so the next time you come into contact with that potential to sin, you don't actualize it. And for me, that is a problem. If you're saying that these people are being heathenistic throughout the day, and then they go home and they say, sorry, that's not their real belief in God. So it is as if this world, the second world that you've created, that God created, is worse than the first because they also do sin, and it's worse, and they don't believe in their creator.
I again, maybe I'm not communicating this clearly, but I would really like for you to address the substance of what I said. And I'm not a Christian, right? I'm an atheist. Please let me clarify.
I got a better one.
No. This is a good one. I was just you took the first one charitably, and the second one you started
I'm going to rephrase the second one and take it more charitably.
Go.
So instead, rather that these people, they do horrendous things, right? They realize that they were wrong in these horrendous things. They repent, and they don't do these horrendous things again. They then go on to express how sorry they are and how other humans should not do horrendous things. I think the second world is world.
And let me tweak that second world before you sign off on it. Okay. They just have, God created them, he wanted them to have this long arc of reckoning. So for the first 50 years of their life, they just weren't. They just were convinced that God wasn't true. They were an atheist with they wanted to do the purge IRL. They did every sin in the book 10 times a day. And then when they were 50, they repented. They truly repented, never did it again, and they died 3 years later. All souls in the world are like that.
No, I don't think that's the better world, because all souls. You said you qualified it by saying all souls are in the world like that. I don't think that's the better world, but I also don't find that to be an equivalent to the world that we live in currently.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying before creation, right? Remember?
Yeah. I know. God is looking and he's going, A, no one believes in me, but they're good people, right? Yeah. By a standard. And then B, they go 50 years of sin.
Yeah, exactly.
Sin, and then on their deathbed or something, they say, oh, I'm sorry, I believe it. And everyone in that world does that. I would not say that that's a good world.
Okay, so God would create the first world.
I don't know if I would say, maybe. And that's where I get hung up, because the reason God creates, again, you said God doesn't have to create. I agree. Why does he create? He creates so that we would be his image bearers. And so in my mind, I'm trying to fathom why God would create such a world. Then he's not a theistic God. He's just a deistic God.
Well, I appreciate the honesty there. That was really my line of questioning that I wanted to pursue. Thanks.
Yeah, I just can't fathom it. I'm based in what I know. Like you said, would that be a creator that you worship? Based in what I know about my creator, is he wouldn't create such a world where he's the deistic God, but all people are good. But he also wouldn't create a world where 50 years every soul sins until the very end.
Okay, then I guess
it just seems like it's hard to fathom.
Do you think that if this world had one more Christian or one less Holocaust in it, then the world would be better?
I don't know how to answer that. And the reason why I don't know how to answer that is because one more Christian could potentially cause a cascading effect, just like little mustache man. Or
okay, and then
I'll give you an example. Mm-hmm. Let's say one Christian had a scope. You know what a scope is, right? On
Yeah,
the pew
yeah,
pew.
yeah. I got you.
And we go back in time and we see baby mustache man in his mommy's womb. And one Christian was said, listen, what would you do? You take out the woman and the man, 2 lives to save millions. Would you do it? It's a very difficult question because
Not to me.
if you knew,
I'm
hold on,
pro-choice. I'm just kidding.
like if you knew for a fact, like 100%, like if you knew for a fact that this was going to stop the, you know what,
Yeah, yeah.
then you would say, okay, great. But if God had deemed that the you know what to happen, because it then bridges other means for better good, then what would I do if I pull the you know
Right.
what?
I agree, but that seems to commit you, at least in my eyes, to saying that there exists no evil, because
No, I believe there exists evil. I just
No,
don't
for
know. I
total
can't.
evil.
yeah,
I
exactly.
don't know.
Wait,
Huh?
wait. Can you just use my construal of the just for 5 seconds? Will you use my semantics and tell me if under my semantics it's evil? I take good to mean what ought be done or what you have most reason to do, and I take evil to be what ought not be done or what you have most reasons not to do. Would you agree that
Okay.
the Schmalakos under those construals of semantics would be good because it ought to be done?
Yes, from what I know, from what I can see. But that's what I'm giving you the odds.
Yeah.
So you have this Christian, let's just say Christian, and he's wanting to protect all of the future Jews.
Typical
who
Christians
this-
to be named Christian, but go ahead. I'm just
What?
kidding. I was just making a joke. Sorry.
Oh, I mean, it could be anyone. I'm just saying, in light of the fact that Christians came from, like, there's the idea, the idea behind what he did and why, and some say he was a Christian. Anyway, let's say there's this Christian who's looking through the scope, and he says, okay, if I ought to, like me personally, I ought to pull the trigger to save millions, but I also don't know if in saving those millions, while that seems like a very good thing to do, that in those millions, there isn't that many millions more worth of good that comes out. So now my one good action, which stops the bad action of one man, could potentially stop the millions of good actions that come from that one bad action that represents
Okay.
Yeah,
all
but
of
that's a decision that only God has the
I just
authority
need
to
to.
decide.
Wait, Courtney, would you pull the trigger?
I probably would, but
Yeah.
that's
Do you
it
think
would
that?
be-
Do you think that most people? Well, but who created your moral compass? God did, right?
Well, I think, okay, so my moral compass is absolutely, I believe, created by God, but it has been inflected by my personal experiences, by running into people like you, and I mean that in a
No,
charitable and
I
honorable
agree that
way.
you're
Like,
sincere. I'm not. Yeah.
yeah, like,
I
so
think I think the more important question is, would you pull the trigger on the mother?
Yeah, of course.
you can't pull and only harm the baby without, because that's her internal organ. Like, it would be very difficult. So
Yeah.
baked into this is you have 2 lives for the one
Look.
guy.
If the mustache guy was a joint fetus between a million people, yeah, I would pull the trigger. Yeah, that's less harm being done. Yeah, I would do it.
No, but
Right,
would
and
you
I-
would
and
you
I'm-
end would you end the life of the mother?
I would end the lives of a million mothers if they were all carrying that baby. Yeah, I would.
See, and that's okay. That's what we're saying. This is why I'm so grateful that those decisions are above my pay grade. So this is why when I went back to earlier, God says, "You will not put to death the sons of the father for the sins of the or for the son. Don't fathers shall like."
Shall
He's
not bear the
basically
sins
saying,
of the father. Yeah.
yeah,
Wait,
that
so
you can't.
so what
you can't.
what you're
You,
saying that you put in lives on a scale and you alone
Yeah.
decide which life is
Not me
more
alone.
important.
You could decide too. Would you pull the trigger?
No. I'm asking you. You said did you would
I
analyze
answered.
millions? You said a million mothers.
Yeah.
That's what you said.
Yeah, because that means
So
that
you-
means 5 million people would be saved. Yeah, it's pretty
Okay,
easy math for
so-
me.
Okay, so what you're saying is that your moral standard is basically the amount of human lives.
Look, what I'm saying about my moral standards is irrelevant. I could have any meta ethical view, right? Would you pull the trigger or no?
On the mother?
Yeah, and the baby.
I don't know.
Okay, so so I mean, if you had
and
to
I,
either
and I
pull the
want
trigger
you,
or
and
not.
I want you to know he's Jewish, by the way.
I mean, I don't
Yeah,
think that's
I
relevant at
I live
all,
in Israel.
but go ahead.
Well, I mean, it is, but it is relevant because
Yeah, I
his
have the
people.
most of the reasons to do it.
Oh, I understand. Sorry, I forgot what we were talking about for a second. Yeah,
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 yeah.
it's the
I thought
mustard divide.
I was thinking of the religion. Yeah. No, yeah. Okay.
no, like his family, like he's Israeli, so I'm sure that
I,
he
I
had
I I
family.
definitely understand why it's important now. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, but if you either had to pull the trigger or not, there's no I don't know about it. Would you do it or not?
No, I truly tell you, I don't know if I will have to
Okay,
take
yeah.
the
Would
life
would
of
you
an
would you flip a
innocent.
coin?
I don't want to tell you yes or no. I don't
I
know.
mean, I get it. I get
I
Zion's
honestly tell
point.
you that I don't know what I would do in this
Okay,
situation.
if you don't act, there's a gunman next to you, and if you don't act to stop him, he will shoot. Do you
Oh,
stop
then
him?
I don't act. For me, I don't act. He takes me out. Then that's easy. That's an easy one for me.
Yeah, I think so also.
Wait.
But
I'm
it's
not saying
again,
I'm
it's
not saying the gunman will shoot you. I'm saying the gunman will shoot the Hitler and the mother.
Okay, well then that is on him.
Y-
God will judge him for that.
Right.
yeah.
And you think God will say, "How dare you?" Or do you think he'll be like,
I
"Yo,
think,
good shit"?
yeah, no. Great question. I think God will see that I did everything in my power to weigh the options with my like human mind. Like I think He will see that and then give mercy for that. But it is
You
very.
think
I
so?
take it
Wait.
very
But recently in
serious.
this conversation, we were talking about a human weighing the decisions with her moral mind, and
Correct. And I said
God,
I probably would, which indicates that I would. It would not be something that would be easy for me, right?
yeah.
And
But
I'm a
but do you
big.
think that God afforded Eve that same courtesy, or do you think He doomed humanity to fall?
No, I think He afforded the same courtesy because He gave over a standard right before, like you see, the serpent comes in and says, "Did God really say?" So it's not that God didn't say, so she knew. It's that He is causing doubt in what God said, and so now she's questioning. Okay, well, did God really say? And so she goes and she eats and she sees that it is good, and so she gives it to her husband, and then that's where we're at. But no, I think that there it was afforded because especially in light of the fact that
Wait,
this is a higher standard. They have been created by their creator, and now they're in like this beautiful garden, and yet they still like in all of this
I have a
beauty.
question about that too. So
Okay.
yeah, I've been working on a way of running the logical problem of evil, strictly with Satan and the garden. So, why? Because we agree that like
Use a guardian cherub.
huh?
Seraphim.
Yeah.
Seraphim. If you so seraphim, like if you reverse like the Chai Nachash, the the serpent, if you change it in Aramaic and the vowel pointings, it comes out to be a shiny one, which
Okay, that's
is
fine.
a seraphim.
Yeah, but
And so what?
wait.
That's why he was there.
Yeah, but
He
my
had a duty.
okay, but I'm saying could Satan have been in the garden if God didn't allow it?
No, but God allowed it because angels have duties. Satan is an angel that
Could
had
God
a
have made
duty.
him have a different duty?
No, because that's antithetical to what the structure of the system is. It's like saying could stop signs really not be stop signs?
I think they could not be stop signs. What do you mean?
In what way? So they would
Yeah,
just
if
their
every time
duty.
we saw a red octagon, right, with STOP on it, and we sounded out those words that we were taught from the beginning of time, and we said makes G and OP makes O because the P makes the O a long O sound, it would be a go sign. I don't know. Like, I'm just saying it's
Yeah,
logically
but then
possible.
that's just like a contradiction then because that's not actually what it means.
No,
If you're
it's not a
saying
contradiction. It's just a semantic dispute. And I'm trying to get past the semantic disputes and say, why couldn't God have told them not to eat the fruit and then saw what they did? Why did he have to make it where he told them not to eat the fruit and then had the shiny one say, psst, fruit's really good though? Like, why did he have to do that?
because he is the tester. Remember earlier I said you cannot expect God to create a world where these beings freely choose him but don't have a secondary option in which they don't choose.
Wait, but yeah, but
Yeah,
don't you think
you're back to
that the
square
first
one.
don't you think that when somebody goes through a test to get them familiar with the concept of testing them, you don't throw like you introduce them to variables at an incremental rate or something? Like it just seems to
Well,
me
no,
that
because again,
yeah, go
this
ahead.
didn't happen. Like I know the narrative of the Bible says like God created them, boom, they fell right after. But if you read other books, Jewish literature, they were there for quite some time in the garden, like quite some time.
Yeah, but
Right. The Book of
I guess
Jubilees actually picks up.
my understanding, and it's not like I'm honestly asking questions here. I'm like the knowledge did they know what good and bad were before they ate the fruit?
So I think that they had some degree of knowledge. Do they have the fullness of the Torah? No. I think that they have the knowledge that God had given them to the degree, like they have just experienced. Like, for example, let me give you an analogy. Let's say that a baby is birthed from its mother, and all of a sudden it has the knowledge that, let's say, a 5-year-old has with knowing that is its mother. Okay, not the knowledge of like ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, or trigonometry or anything like that, but just the knowledge of I came from you. Okay, because like an infant may not know, but it knows that this person is its support.
Okay,
so here God just created them. Mm-hmm. So now they're in the presence of God. They now know what's like, they were just formed. This is this magnificent thing. In fact, when God speaks and says, "Where are you?" they hide themselves because they're know naked. That something has now changed.
Yeah, they're
okay,
naked,
so that's
right?
an important. Yeah, they now know something, and they now have this mindset of bad because God has this standard
okay, thank you for that clarification. So, my question.
Wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
But hold on, wait. So, but previously they did not know that, but they did know that God, because Eve repeats it. God said, "Of all the trees we may eat, that's the good, and the no. I mean, low means no. The not, the thing you're not allowed to do." Is touch of this one tree, eat of this one tree. So at that point, the good option is this, the bad option is the nose, like all the stuff that you can't.
Yeah, but my question is, like, maybe that command was clear. My question is, like, did Eve and Adam understand that, doing something other than what they were told was bad or good?
Yes, because she repeats what would happen. She gives over to the serpent the demise if she says.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, so let's say that your 5-year-old knows they came from you, right? And let's say they come home and you look sad and they ask what's wrong and you don't want to talk, right? But then the husband asks the 5-year-old, why is mom sad? And she goes, the tax collector just called. The 5-year-old doesn't know what a tax collector is, but it can still reliably relay information. Summer, I'm using Courtney's example from earlier. Stop, like.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's fine. Correct. But also baked into that is, while I said they don't have all of the 613 of the Torah to tell them more details about what is good and what is bad, they have the knowledge of this creator just told them something that they're not allowed to do.
Yeah, which I know, but what I'm saying is, like, you tell your 5-year-old, don't touch the stove, right? They don't yet know, like, it's not like they have a crystal clear understanding that, like, the mouth sounds that this human is making, I should align with those or not align with those, right?
Yeah,
but you're telling them not to touch the stove only when they understand what is touch and what is stove.
Yeah, but they don't know that touching like, let's say that they touch the stove isn't the same as don't drink from, like, mom's special bottle or something. I'm not, like, making any claims about it.
Well, no, touching the stove causes pain. Yeah. Eve knew that on the day that they eat of it, they will die. She even repeats. That's what I'm saying. She knows.
I guess my question is, I'm trying to get to some of the nuance, right? Did they know that, like, death is bad, right?
Yes, because she actually relays that message to the
Does your
serpent.
5-year-old know what a tax collector does, or can they just relay it? I get that she relayed it. I'm asking, does her relaying it mean that she knows exactly the nuance of what's being talked about and what's being commanded?
She debated. You're not going to. My 5-year-old isn't going to debate with the tax collector. She's debating with the serpent. Like, literally, she has a discourse with him. So it seems to me, based in that, I think we could fairly say that, yes, she understands enough about the, quote, tax collector here to know that this is a bad thing. But she becomes convinced only after, right? When she eats of it and she sees, I didn't die like in this very moment, but she doesn't know that death process has now started. She will not live eternally now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
she says, this is what she says. So it says that after she ate of it and saw that it was good for eating, she goes and gives to her husband.
Right, but when she gave it to Adam, did he know that it was the fruit of the tree?
So that's a different subject. Whether he knew, okay, so one, it doesn't say that Adam knew for a fact that it was the fruit of the forbidden tree, okay? But there's also another idea that Adam did know and intentionally sinned, and that was an action out of love. Why? Because God had created. She's called Isha. Like this is the she's his.
The
She's
woman.
yeah. She's from Adam, bone of my bones, flesh of my. Okay, so now God would have to kick her out, and she would go out into the world all alone without a man to provide for her, essentially, right? And she'd be all alone. Okay, and she would bear the brunt of the punishment all in herself. So he willingly, which is why Paul says it was Eve
Wait,
that was
I have a question.
deceived.
I have a question. Sorry.
Yes.
If only like maybe it doesn't say anything about it, but again, I'm not like trying to argue. I'm asking. If Adam didn't eat the fruit, how did that work? Half of humanity falls, or does humanity
It's
still
an
fall?
interesting. No one knows because God made them male and female, and the two shall become one. So I don't know how I would give you an honest answer to that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a we don't know answer.
I don't know.
I think
Yeah, I
women.
mean, I genuinely don't.
I
I wish
think
I had an answer, but
I think all women would have been screwed, but not men.
Wait,
But-
Courtney, I did interrupt your point, so keep going, please.
yeah. So when she saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate, and she also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate. So the idea is, maybe he didn't know because he was not talking to the serpent. The serpent was talking to her. And then there's the mindset, wait, Adam feels bad because now he should have been the one speaking to the serpent. And yet he allowed the serpent to speak. And so he feels obligated to take care of her because, again, if she was kicked out and not him, that would be problematic. He feels obligated to take care of